All right, y'all, so this is my Extreme Flight 91 Laser. So I drive a 2017 Grand Cherokee Trailhawk, and this does not fit in my Trailhawk. So what I decided was make the rotor removable. That's a giant chunk of space. I can pull that off and it'll fit in the Jeep no problem. So I had a few people ask how to do it. I figured I'd give y'all a little how-to video. So basically this is the finished product. What's gonna end up happening is you'll have a piece of music wire running through it, and it's gonna be attached. It's folded, the wire's bent down, and I just use a little Velcro strap that's super easy to remove when I don't wrap it all the way around. And you can see there's the end of the wire that I just bent to match the profile of the tail gear. So let's get started. So in the kit, you're gonna get Robart style hinge pins, right? They are held together with an aluminum pin through the center. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your hinge pins, and whenever you fold them in half, you'll see it's got a button head on one side and it'll have like a flared head on the other side. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that flared section, you're gonna file it down. I used a little cutoff wheel on a Dremel, just because it was faster work. So once you do that, you'll pop all of the center aluminum pins out that come in the factory hinges. They're great hinges, they work fine, so no reason to buy new ones. So what we're gonna do after that, we're gonna take K&S Engineering music wire. It's stock number 504. It's 1/16 inch. It comes in bundles of 3 for like $2. So you take a piece of wire, and the first thing we're gonna do is we are gonna drill that installation hole. That installation hole in the top is how we're gonna get it on and off. And the easiest way I've found to actually do this is go ahead and put hinges in the vertical stab on the plane. And you're gonna take your wire and you're gonna run it from the top of the vertical stab down. So what this is gonna do is it's first gonna let you line up all your hinges, and you can see how smoothly this goes in. Now, one thing I do want to point out, I've seen it on 3 different lasers so far, is this second hinge right here is actually offset. It is not straight on the vertical line. You can see it's a little offset there. So you would think that would make a big deal, but it really doesn't, and I'll explain why in a minute. So anyway, you're gonna take this, line it up through all your hinge pins, and you'll see that because of that angle, it's gonna turn the wire at the very tip. Like I said, not a huge deal. So you'll get your wire, you'll push it all the way up. Let me adjust the GoPro. And you're gonna push it to right where it touches the bottom of your tail gear. So from here, you can mark it on the bottom. I'd already installed my tail gear, so I just measured where it hit, and I came up top. And you drill your hole. I ovaled mine out a little bit because of that offset angle. So once we have our hole drilled in the top, we know we're gonna be able to remove and install our wire, and it goes in and out easily, and everything's lined up. Then you can go ahead and pull it out. And now we're gonna install the hinges for good. I use 15-minute epoxy. You can use 30, 5, whatever you feel comfortable. I would personally suggest 30. 15 was kind of pushing it. So what we're gonna do here is we are going to take our wire. Well, first you can take your hinge pins. I use just red tacky grease to keep the epoxy from actually sticking inside, because it's gonna smush out a little bit. So go ahead and assemble all of your hinge pins back. Once you put whatever lubricant you want on them, and start sliding them up on the rod. And I usually just leave it kind of dangling like this until I get, well, until I get all of them on there. Don't be afraid to bend the wire. It comes in packs of 3. So once you have all of your hinges assembled and just sitting on your wire, now is gonna be time to start actually finish assembling everything. So what you're gonna do, and I'm gonna run my wire back through here because I've already installed it. I mean, my hinges are already epoxied in place. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and install the hinges on the vertical stab first. That way you have them in there, they're lined up, you know where they're gonna stay. Then grab your rudder and you will, I suggest put the tiller wire on last because hey, your rudders are movable, so this isn't as crucial of an issue. But basically, you're gonna, at that point, go ahead, push your pins in here after you filled the holes with epoxy first. Shove your hinge points on. I usually pull it out, let it tack up a little second, and then put it back in, tape it up, let it cure. So, once that's all said and done, you can put your tiller control, eyelet, horn, whatever you want to call it, on there. And your rudder is going to be removable at this point. So to finish your wire, I don't know if you can see it on the bottom, I always leave my wire about 1.5 inches long. What that's going to do is that's going to go in your counterbalance up top. You can see there's a very small hole right at the base. That's where that wire is coming up and it's just terminating in the block of wood right here for your counterbalance. What that's gonna do is it's gonna provide a little bit of rigidity at the top. It's gonna give you full contact all the way through your hinge points, and it's gonna make it a little harder to come out. It's not gonna fall out on its own. I use the Velcro just for good measure. Some people put a little screw. It all depends on how much you're gonna have to take it on and off. I don't wanna take a screw on and off every time. So now that we have all this done, you'll be able to remove your wire. You can hold it up next to it to measure it where you want, and we're gonna start the process of bending it to match that shape. So what we want is to match this profile. So you can see here that I've matched my profile and I left it a little wide. So what happens when it's a little wide is when we go to put our Velcro on, it's gonna provide a little bit of outward tension. So, and I'm gonna say now, this is a lot easier to do with the plane right side up. But we're to the point where we can go ahead and put our rudder on and finish making those bends. So, go ahead and line all your hinges up, and it should be super simple. It's that easy. And then we're gonna start inserting our tiller wire from, our music wire from the top. Well, bottom, sorry. It's currently the top. So like I said, that one offset hinge right here is always gonna be the worst, and you can see it goes in pretty quickly. So because of that first pin, the second pin being offset a little bit, it's gonna kick your wire to the left for this third one. And like I said, I've seen this on 3 different extreme flight planes. I'm not quite sure why it's set up like that, but you'll have plenty enough room to reach around the other side, and you can see it's already in. And just push the wire in a little bit whenever you turn it. All of these hinges, if they get stuck a little bit when you go to shove this wire in, it's as simple as just push it with your fingertip and then wiggle the rudder back and forth. Sorry, I completely missed that hinge because I'm not looking at it, I'm looking through the camera. All right, there it is. So, like I said, a little wiggle goes a long ways, so to speak. I know people are probably gonna make comments about that. So, finish the wire going down, little wiggle back and forth, and you can see it fed all the way into the stabilizer. It's really, really, really simple, y'all. And this goes really fast at the field. So, now you can see the end of our wire is pretty straight with the profile. Like I said, it leaves a little tension, so when you put tension on it, you see how it straightened that wire up against the rudder? What that's gonna do is it's gonna take a little bit of tension off of it. And right here, because of that crooked one, you can hear a little pop. But whenever you hold this in place, everything spins super freely, smooth, no pop. So now that we know everything's lined up right and it's straight, we come up here, and this is gonna be for our final flight assembly. I take a just a little strip of Velcro with the soft side down, because generally grass isn't gonna stick in the tougher side. Wrap it around. This doesn't have to be super tight, y'all. Like I said, it's just to keep it from coming out. Trim that a little shorter. But you can't see that in the air. It's not tacky looking when it's up in the air. And now we have a removable rudder. So whenever we're ready to go, it's time to load up. It's as simple as pull your little Velcro strap off, pull your wire out, hinges off, rudder's off, ready to go. So like I said, super easy.